All right, and settle into a comfortable position to begin with. So that can be wherever you want it to be. You can lay down. Yeah, I think we're all going for the laying down option. And then breathe deeply in through the nose and out through the nose. Following every single part of the journey that your breath makes. But sometimes it can be hard to get that soul focus right at the beginning of your practice. So if you do have thoughts or distractions of any description occurring, then be kind to yourself. Acknowledge that they exist and that they are there. But don't criticize yourself or bring any kind of negativity in as a result of it not going quite to plan. This is our opportunity to begin to learn the skills to still the mind. Doesn't always have to be perfect. Just scan your body from head to toe. Notice any sensations that you feel or any areas that have any mild discomfort. And see if you can just let it go. Let it go with the exhalation. Today we're going to focus on letting ourselves get close to our edge. Finding the challenge. And not just finding it, being able to endure the challenge. That's the interesting bit, because we can get right to the edge of our pose, we can get to our highest level of intensity, but can you do it with a clear mind, one free from criticism, one free from negative talk? And can you do it in a place where you can hold, you can stay, you can endure? So making a few gentle movements And slowly draw your knees in towards your chest. And then stack the ankles just above the knees in a happy baby pose. Your main focus with this pose is to keep your back long and flat. So nothing has changed from your position from when your feet were on the floor to when you take them off. Then if you draw your knees wide of your rib cage and your torso and down to the floor, but without your tailbone lifting off, where do your legs go? So you may need to adjust your grip so you're holding behind the thighs, on the calves, rather than necessarily the feet, so you can be in a place where your spine is long and stable. Can you find your level of intensity here, which is close to your edge? So the challenge might be here from tightness through the front of the hips, through the groin, as it spreads open. The challenge may be holding the feet, or whichever part of the body you're holding on to. Maybe the challenge is giving yourself the permission to let go here. Wherever you are, can you be still in this place? Taking 5 more breaths. At the end of your 5 breaths, draw the legs back in together. Do anything that your body calls for, maybe a few little rocks from side to side. I'm going to bring yourself up onto your sit bones. Then you may want cushions, blocks, or things like that to support you here. You're going to tuck the foot into the inner edge of one of your legs and fold directly forwards over your leg. If you're lucky enough to have a mat with a line down the centre of it, or just so you know roughly where the centre of your mat is, if you align your hips up, the centre of your pelvis up with that, and then aim the forehead along that centre line, you'll then notice that your leg is probably slightly wider. And that's where you kind of need to be here, so you're not turning We're going straight forwards. Then if your hamstrings are really tight and it's really uncomfortable, you can place something underneath the knee to make that a little bit softer, something of an appropriate height. You can raise your bum as well on something so you can tip over a little bit more. A gentle squeeze of your belly in. And if you've got space here between your chest and your thigh that you can feel, again, with anything that you have or a cushion, that can help your upper body relax into the folds a little bit more. Now here, it can be easy to hover just behind your edge, where it can be a little bit more comfortable. But you're going to use your exhalation to help you go deeper. So every time you exhale, just let your body become a little bit looser, a little bit heavier. We're not forcing ourselves into a deeper place. We're giving ourselves the permission to go deeper. Take 3 more breaths here. And slowly push yourself away from your leg, from the floor. swap your legs over, taking as much time and doing as much movement in between as you need. Tuck the foot in, pad underneath the knee if you wish. In fact, if your bent knee is quite high up off the floor, you might want to place something underneath that as well, so it eases the opposite side of your hip. And just gently pull your hip back a touch as you fold forwards. So feeling that flow of breath. If you imagine the inhale entering through the sole of the foot, it runs along the heel all the way down the back of the leg until it gets to your sit bone, and then it continues to pull your hips back. As you exhale, you relax your head, your shoulders, your torso. The whole top part of your body is going to relax over the bottom leg a little bit more. Inhaling, feeling the leg lengthen, so getting that pulling back feeling. Also, imagine that your leg is pushing forwards, pulling back and pushing forwards. Where is the edge? taking 3 more long breaths, using them to surpass your edge. And as we climb out of the fold, take your other leg back out alongside the other leg. Bring your legs together. And again, if you had your knees padded underneath, singularly pad it again in the same place and come into a fold, a caterpillar pose with legs together. Which hopefully you might find a little bit easier to get into than you would have done if we'd started with both legs out together. If you find that it's a struggle to fall forward, pull one butt cheek back at a time. So you're kind of like almost spreading your butt cheeks wider, which then gives you that anatomical flexed position at your hips a little bit more. And again, don't be afraid to lift the knees up a bit higher if you do feel restricted in the lower back as well. You can always reduce the height that your knees are once you've got used to it a bit more. Or holding the feet. Or something to help you reach your feet. You're just going to spend 10 breaths here. So count them. Using that exhalation to surpass where you thought your edge once was, to discover a new edge. At the end of your 10 breaths, acknowledge how far you've come, and then slowly walk your way back up. Make your way onto your hands and knees. See how easy it is to move now. Take a few rounds of up cat, down cat, just to get some movement in the hips and the spine. And then stepping one leg forwards, outside your shoulder, into a lunge. And we're not going to spend too long here. So find your edge pretty quickly. You can drop down onto forearms if you wish. That's one way to make it more intense. Let it feel like you're dragging your whole body forwards. How's the level of intensity? Can you let your body melt into your edge without it feeling like you're stressing yourself out? Challenge with acceptance. Take 3 more breaths here. And before we move on from here, you're going to lift your toes of your front foot up, then turn them a quarter turn away from the rest of your body. At the same time, drop the bottom hip to the floor and pull the top hip back. So if you've got narrow hips, you might need to walk your foot in a little bit closer to you before you quarter turn to make that feel more comfortable. You can drop down onto the forearm here instead of being on the hand. Or if you want to get in an added wrist stretch, turn your hands so your wrist is pointing away from you at the same time. Get a wrist stretch. 2 for the price of 1. Or maybe 3 for the price of 1, depending on where you're feeling it. So here, top hip. The more you pull that back, the deeper you're going to feel that around the outer part of the hip. You may feel it around the lower part of your waist and hip here as well. This is probably one of the nicer ones to hold for a period of time. It just looks so comfy. You've got 30 more seconds. Just breathe widthways into the rib cage, let it feel light in the torso. Exhaling, relax the hips. Okay, check this out for a transition. If you're doing the wrist stretch, turn your wrist around. You're going to come down to the floor, take this top leg so it stacks over the bottom leg. Then your arm that's on the bottom, you're going to reach your hand out towards or behind your torso. If you want to place something underneath your head here, then you can. If you'd rather miss the shoulder stretch out, you can place your arm underneath your head, but take your top leg, find the ankle with the hand and find the quad stretch. So it's a half bow, fallen over half bow. If you notice your knees lifting up towards the ceiling, turn it down, almost like so the foot is higher than your knee. And that'll help you get the stretch right into the front of the thigh instead. And just gently edge the knee behind your hip a touch more. Rolling the torso up away from the floor. Just get that extra stretch through the front of the shoulder and chest. And how can you make this more intense without fighting? You can pull the heel closer towards your bum. You can pull the knee further behind your hip. You can always encourage both of your shoulder blades to squeeze towards one another. Take 5 more breaths here. As you make your way out of the pose, let go of whatever you're holding on to. You're going to roll onto your front, pull the hand that's behind you back, lift yourself up away from the floor, but sit in the center. So the leg that you were just stretching, your quad stretch, you're going to cross that ankle over the opposite knee. So choices here. You can place the foot on the floor, or you can tuck the foot underneath and always adjust the top leg a little bit closer towards the center if this is too intense or too awkward to get into. So here, and if it feels like your knee's lifting way too high away from the floor, place the foot to the floor instead here. Use your arms behind you to get your torso upright. Then take a lean forwards again and fold over the leg. Hopefully feeling it in your butt cheek of the leg that's on top. Remember, how intense does it feel right now? Are you holding back? Or can you let go? Taking 2 more breaths. And gently climbing your way out of the pose. Can you remember everything that we've just done? We're going to do it all over again, but go in the other way with the other leg. Lunge. Shoulder is slightly inside the knee. And then this hip flexor here on the back leg, if you imagine that that's the one that's trying to lengthen. So if you think about pulling back through the sole of the foot behind you, and then abdominals, pull your hips forwards. So think belly button forwards, toes back. And again, you can choose to drop down to the forearms if you wish. Are you in the place where it feels really intense? So much so that you want to move, but you're not going to move. because you can tolerate a lot more than you put your mind to. So often if you think, oh, just hold on, 5 more seconds, 5 more seconds, in each 5 seconds, go 5 more seconds. And before you know it, you've been there way longer than you expected to be. I'm just going to spend 30 more seconds here. Lounging lizard. So you may want to walk that foot in a little bit closer towards your centre first. If you're going for the wrist stretch as well, it's probably a good idea to turn the wrist away from you before you melt into the pose. Turn the toes a quarter turn outwards, top hip shifts back, bottom hip to the floor. Casual. Even though this is a more chilled out, relaxing one, find your edge. Play around with your torso position. Maybe lean in towards your bent leg a little bit more. Maybe coming down here helps you to come down and in towards the center of your hips again. And maybe that intensifies it for you. Last 20 seconds here. And as we transition out of the pose, you're going to lay down onto your front. Oh, if I get that. If you're going for the shoulder stretch as well, take your arm behind, roll away from the arm, roll away from the floor. Pad anything underneath your head. If you wish to, bend the top leg, find the quad stretch. Like a look at start that sentence again. Like a lot of things in life, this is as intense as you want to make it. In a relaxed state, exhaling, soften the front of your leg. Pull the knee behind your hip more, without your hip shifting back. Fifteen more seconds. And then slowly let go of where you're holding on to. Roll onto your front so you can remove the arm. Sit yourself up. This time, the leg over the quad you were just stretching is the one that's on top. So crossing ankle above the knee, either being upright or tucking the bottom leg underneath. Adjust the sit bones and fold forwards if you're sat. If you're more upright, pull your belly in, lengthen the torso, and then press the center of your chest towards the inner shin. Just make sure that your bum hasn't lifted off the floor if you're folding forwards. If you notice it does, use your hands just to guide your hips back a touch. Breathe in the sensation and breathe out to let yourself fall, to let go of something. Maybe it's tension you're holding in your arms as you're keeping yourself upright. Maybe it's tension in the jaw, in the face. Just taking 3 more breaths. And for your next pose, you may want to have some cushions close by or something soft to pad underneath your knee for frog. So spreading the knees as wide as you can with the hips and the knees level, and walking the feet out until they are behind your knees. Feet, inner edge of feet press onto the floor in a flexed position, almost. Yeah, so if it does irritate your knees or it's a little bit too intense in your inner thighs, you can find a wide child's pose with the feet together, but still the knees as wide as possible. I'm just going to spend 3 minutes here. Just 3 lovely minutes. So we have to finish with like the most intense. What you might notice as you go through is the more you relax, your knees might just naturally spread a bit wider anyway. Or you can actively try and make them spread at any point. Long, deep breaths, especially on that exhale. Halfway. Now, what is your mind telling you here? Is your mind telling you it's a bit too much and you need to get out? Or is it telling you, yeah, this is tough, but I've got this. Just a few more seconds. Just a few more seconds. You are in your last minute. How can you let go more? What can you let go of? See, life is often full of these uncomfortable moments. It's how we learn to cope. Like it helps us get through them. 10 more seconds. And slowly climbing back up into your hands. Slide your feet together, then rock your hips back. Slide your knees closer together. Yeah. Do whatever your body needs. Maybe just close your legs for a little bit. It's probably what it needs right now, isn't it? And then you're going to make your way over onto your back or any other comfortable position for the last few moments to rest, relax, and recover. So any position, you can be on your front, your side, your back. You can be seated if you want. Then whenever you're there, allow your eyes to close or your eye gaze to soften. Taking each inhale all the way down into the belly. And the exhale dissipates out in every single direction. Up, down, sideways, backwards, forwards. Take a deep breath in, and as you do, say, I can face all the challenges. And as you exhale with a deep breath out, breathing in, I accept all life's challenges. And as you breathe out with a deep breath. I can handle all of life's challenges with a deep breath. At the end of your next exhalation, acknowledge your presence on the floor. Allow your breathing to return to its natural rhythm and state. And then slowly welcome movement back in, doing whatever your body needs.